Alrighty, let's have a quick run through before the news hits us in approximately 2 hours or so. Mind you, today we have multiple high impact news. We have a medium impact news on euro pairs, and the high impact news are affecting GBP, JPY, and USD pairs all at the same time in around 2 hours. Alright, so the pairs that I got from you guys today were UCAD, EU, and GU, which are all okay, but just mind you that because of the news that is about to happen, the price can be very, very volatile. So if you are a newbie, especially beginners or someone who is inexperienced in the market, wait for the news to release first, okay? So just wait at the key levels themselves. All right, so starting with UCAD, I have mapped out 3 zones for you. This is the sell zone that the current price is at. We have engulfing sell, multiple engulfing sells, actually 3 engulfing sells, and they are still respecting, failing to break above. So if the price still wants to respect this zone, meaning the H4 cannot break above this zone right here, or it cannot close above my pink zone, then we can look for a sell down. All right, so the first buy that I see is this engulfing sell that failed. There is nothing much else, and everything else is so far away, hence it can become very irrelevant because the price is just too old, right? So we always stick with the current price or the nearest price or the fresh zones that we can find in the market as we see where the current price is at. Okay, my next sell zone, if this decides to break, is this buy that failed. Price came back, created an engulfing sell. Okay, the reason why I did not draw this engulfing buy failed out is because we have this zone right above. So if price wanted to choose truly, and especially the big money traders, of course they're going to go for something that is more higher in price wise, and something that has formed a setup to complete. What needs to be completed is the price needs to create another engulfing sell to complete the ABC. All right, but that is if the price decides to break our zone over here, then there's a chance it could test this zone. Now, what do you do when the price is in our zone? We go into M15 first to find a setup. Now we see that by the key level that closed within over here, we see an engulfing sell, and then price just respected. Okay, now it's trying to test the key level again. So let's go into M5 and see what we see. In M5, we also have an engulfing sell meets another engulfing sell over here, right? But that's in the key level itself. If I were to draw it, the whole zone out, you'll see multiple engulfing sells in the key level. So because we have a USD news at 8:30 p.m. my time, which is Thailand's time, or GMT +7, because of that, to lower my risk, I'm not going to enter anything until the news, okay, until the news is released, because the price might not move at all until the news comes, because it needs the news to accelerate, whether it's to respect this engulfing sell and just drop down like crazy, or if it wants to break, then it needs the news to push it and break. So this is something that we have to monitor, and we just have to enjoy the ride as it comes. All right, so that's on USD CAD. Now, if you did decide to enter, remember, because these are H4 zones, find your entries or confirmations in M15 and M5. All right, next pair we have EU. Now, EU is a good pair, especially for newbies. And like I always say, EU during the day, it might move or give you 20 to 40 pips. That's the usual cases for EU, but it's very, very safe to trade. When the news comes, EU can sometimes travel up to 60 to 100 pips. There were times and there were news where it basically flew or dropped continuously for more than 100 pips. That has happened, but it's very rare for EU. All right, so EU, what we're going to monitor is a sell in these 2 key levels. Why do I have 2 key levels? Is because this engulfing failed zone, it was a buy that failed, is quite huge. Oops, let me just adjust that real quick. There we go. So it's quite huge, meaning if I were to put just 1 key level, sometimes it might not be too high, it might be too low, or it might not be true. So if I zoom in for you, you can see that these two key levels from this very big zone, you will see the resistance, support over here. So we have a key level over here. Then for this one, you will see multiple rejections. Tap, go. If it respects, it will bounce support. If it decides to respect, you can see after breaking, came up, even though it left a wick, it still respected and dropped. So we have two support and resistance, or two key levels in this H4 zone, sell zone, all right? Then for our buy zone, nearest to the current price, I see this sell. My zones keep moving. I'm not sure, maybe it's a glitch on my iPad. I shall get that fixed soon. Anyway, so an engulfing sell that failed, price came back, closed within, and created a buy. So this is the zone that is closest to the nearest price. So what can EU do? Now, like I said, there will be medium impact on euro pairs and high impact on USD pairs, meaning euro USD will have both the medium and a high impact from those news to affect this. All right, so if it correlates with each other, then it can spike or drop like crazy. And if the news kind of cancels each other out, then sometimes you might not find any movement, or very, very slow movement and volume will come later. But even then, that's fundamentals part. So we stick to technical analysis. We know that our sell zone, or where we're going to monitor for a potential sell, is up in here, and for our buy, potential buy would be here. So what do? We wait for H4 to come into our zones. If you have a higher risk appetite, then you can check out the setups when the price enters without the H4 closing. But if you want to lower your risk, wait for the H4 to close first in the zone. At least you have that decision that is made in the higher time frame before finding your setups to enter in the smaller time frames. All right, it's all about how you manage your risk appetite and how you manage your account. All right, so if the price decides to come into our sell zone or drop into our buy zone and respects it, meaning the price cannot break above this sell, or it cannot break above or break below, this buy, the price will just drop. We can find a potential sell from here and a buy from here. But if the price decides to break either of the zones, then it could test a higher area or a lower area respectively. Now, I'm not saying that when the price breaks the zone, it can go immediately. No, sometimes you'll see fake outs, right? Meaning it will break, but then it'll come back and break again and move in that direction, which sometimes happens. But if you are a trader and you stick to the strategy, you need rules for that strategy so you know what to do. Either cut loss or hold, and you can find other potentials that might happen according to the reaction that the market makes. All right, so we already know the sell and the buy zones for EU. We know where to go to get our entry, which is M5 and M15 for the H4 zones. And next is your SL. Once you have entered for a not too tight, not too loose SL, set it at 40 pips from your entry price and leave it be, okay? But if you're gonna trade with news, which I would advise against, I'm not someone who likes to trade with the news unless I already have an entry running. I would just set break even. But for those who who are adrenaline junkies, let's say in this Forex market, if you want to trade with the news, sometimes the 40 pips might be too tight. Okay, so you'll have to increase your SL, or sometimes you will have to have no SL and cut manually. If you want to do that, make sure you know what price you are going to cut. That is the maximum that you are willing to lose in that setup. All right, last but not least, GU, also a favorite pair for everybody. So GU has been going in a sideways since this sell zone that I gave for 2 weeks now. And my buy zone that it barely touched last week or two also. But now it's slowly inching in, so you can see the wicks are really coming into the key level. And this H4 just tapped into the zone, but we are not going to rush. Why? Because we have both high impact news on GBP and USD pairs. All right, we have that. So we are not going to do anything yet for the low risk traders. All right, but if again you are a high risk trader, completely up to you. Okay, so my sell zone is a complete ABC. Then my fresh, not really fresh, it has been tested multiple times, but Nothing has come in to close within, excuse me, and create an engulfing buy just yet. Okay, so it's just an engulfing failed zone. And we also have this lower zone, which is also just an engulfing fail. After the failed, price decided to tap into the key level before this fly up. Okay, so we have two buy zones that are comprised of engulfing fails and a complete sell zone. Now that the price is here, again, if it decides to respect this, we can look for a potential buy. Okay, but if it breaks down below, we have a lower buy right here that is waiting for us, and then we have a sell here. If the H4 decides to respect, we can look for a sell. Excuse me. Now, in incidences where the price breaks above or below our zones, then we can either look for the next zone, which would be if it breaks this buy, we will wait for here, right? If it breaks the sell, then we know we have this engulfing sell over here. Either you find the next zone to wait for the next opportunity, or you wait for the price to retrace back into the key level after the break for a potential sell down or a potential buy up, right, from the buy zone and the sell zone respectively. Okay, so if the key levels, if the zone is broken, it means it becomes invalid for that direction, but you can use the key levels for the opposite direction if the setups present themselves. All right, for TP wise, again, TP at something you are comfortable with. If you are someone who trades with market structure, then TP at the market structures. If you're someone who closes your trades manually and you're trying to build tolerance to that, then set your first TP at the pips that you normally close your trades. If it's 15 pips, that's your first TP. Then add on to it. TP2 can be 30 pips, TP3 can be 45 pips, just to rewire your brain. All right, I'm someone who likes to trade from key level to key level. So meaning if you want to, or if you are a trader like me, if you enter from this buy zone, then you would TP right before the sell zone, right? TP right before the sell zone, because the zones or the price travels from zone to zone. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't, but it is sure worth it, and I like to manage my account like that. All right, so that's the TPs, SLs, entries, confirmations, and all the zones. Please stay safe during the news in how many hours? An hour, close to hours-ish. And do not risk all of your account. Do not full margin if you do not have the capacity to. And do not trade something that is more than you can lose or more than you can afford to lose. All right, stay safe, and I will talk to you soon.